The moderator of this session is CEO of Capitals Coalition, Mark Gough. Over to you.
It's wonderful to see such a large room full of people thinking about nature positive. So what is the value of nature? There's lots of activity that's been going on all around the world with businesses, financial institutions, governments, and mayors looking at this idea of what is nature. I'm pleased to announce actually here today that the Capitals Coalition is now standardizing the approach that we can get towards measuring and valuing natural capital. There are many different approaches you can use. The German government has a good one. There's the World Bank. There's all of the accountancy firms. We've brought them all together, and now we are standardizing those financial effects. So if you are measuring the water that you use, you will be able to, in a consistent, robust, auditable way, actually get towards those impacts in financial terms to include in your balance sheets, in your integrated profit and losses. And 2 weeks ago at the London Climate Action Week, the accountancy profession came together and announced it's setting up a facility to support this process. So this is a very exciting time in this space. I'm very pleased here to have a very exciting panel. Let me just bring up my notes here. The panel comes from finance. We've got local government, conservation, all coming together to think about this social and business case for nature positive. How do we actually make this real? In this session, we're going to discover how investing in nature enhances not only the economic approaches that we can take, but also boosts the competitiveness, creates those opportunities. We've measured recently, there's at least $150 trillion worth of opportunity that's available if we're able to measure and capture this natural capital. That's a massive opportunity for business to really step in. So as we heard earlier this morning, this isn't either nature or the economy. This is part of the same thing. So with no further ado, I'm going to move over to Grethel here, please, from the IUCN. So Grethel, you helped us when we were developing the Natural Capital Protocol. You were one of the leading organizations in that process. From a global standpoint, how do you define this social and business case that we're talking about, and what is the role for non-state actors in this?
Thank you very much for the question, and allow me first to thank all the organizers of this event, and particularly to my friends in the Japan IUCN National Committee. Thank you very much for all your work, and thank you, Your Royal Highness, for being here, and good morning to all of you. So let me start by, Mark, by saying first that the social case and the business case are not separate. I think that we cannot talk about different cases. I will talk about, social and business case, which is the same case. Because at the end, there is something fundamental here, and is that nature conservation is the base for the well-being and prosperity of all of us. So what happens is that, well, you saw the presentation this morning, that since we humans, because it's we, are putting nature in such a difficult moment, then the consequences of our actions normally go to the poorest. And communities, indigenous peoples, and many people are really suffering of the consequences, and you have seen it, the wildfires, the floodings, the loss of biodiversity. And that is why, when we talk about social case, business case, I think that all our actions count. And therefore, if you think about society and you think about businesses, then we have to do the right thing so that businesses can prosper at the same that society prosper. So let's start with saying that it's just one case. We are linked forever in this endowment. Now, half of the GDP, depends on nature. And that is something that many here know. But the important part is that what happens? I mean, what happens if we don't have nature on our side? It's very simple. Many of the businesses will not prosper, and therefore, that will have a consequence on communities and people, and we, all of us, around the world. But I don't want to be so in the negative side of things. As many say this morning too, we can change this course of action, and we have to change it. Imagine that in IUCN, we know for a fact, because we have done the assessment of 178,000 species worldwide, and we know that 48,000 are at the brink of extinction. That's pretty serious, and this is based in our actions. So in IUCN, we have decided to base our actions on science and to provide that science to all of you. So we are the ones who developed the nature-based solutions tool, the standard. We are the ones who tell the world what is the state of a species worldwide. We are the ones who work hand in hand in you to do the assessments of your impacts and having the tools to remediate all the impacts. We also use something called IBAT that will, in a star metric, that will help you actually to help to evaluate on the ground what is the impact in terms of a species. And recently, we are working with Kane Wren to work on OECMs that are areas that not being, normal national parks, they are conserved and require action, like this big forestry that I can see here in Kumamoto. I'm sure that there are many OECMs here. So, but let me also mention something about Japan, where we are now. I think that Japan has been leading in many fronts. This morning, we heard that Japan has the largest number of TNFD adopters, which is really amazing. We also are working with Kane Wren with the Nature Conservation Council on developing guidelines for nature-based solutions and for OECMs. And we really admire the Satoyama approach, where people and nature are together, and where there are solutions for people while maintaining nature conservation. So to your question, Mark, I mean, what is the role of the non-private sector, other organizations? I will say that we all have a role. This is not one sector that can solve problems. We have to unite. We have to be together, private sector, civil society, non-governmental organizations, academia is very important. And all of us need to work together with the government and governments around the world, because we need all hands on deck. This is not in any way a solo act. The one of you who think that you can do it alone is not possible. We need all hands on deck worldwide so that we can move from a crisis, because I'm going to call it like this. We have a crisis in the decline of biodiversity and the effects of climate change and the pollution, to a more nature-positive world where we can all prosper and benefit.
Thank you very much. I think that's a really good call. If we can go back to the slide before, I'd like to bring in all of you out there as well. So we've got a poll here, if we can bring it back up, this QR code up there. And we're going to ask you if you can all get out your phones and try and connect to that. we want to know what you believe is the most significant driver that is going to help businesses and organizations to become nature positive. Is it regulatory? Is it physical risk? Is it investor focus, investors asking you those questions? Or is it going to be about the opportunities, the brand recognition? So if you can all click on this, and then we'll come back to that at the end of the session. As Grethel's saying, this is something we all have to do together. If I can come to you now next, please, Mr. Mayor. I was very fortunate yesterday to go out on the tour around Kumamoto. It was amazing to see the watershed and all the work that's going on here. And as we've heard, this area is renowned for the groundwater. And I was able to taste some, and it really is amazing. I think you should charge money for this. This is a wonderful resource. Can you please let us know what is the role of the municipality in helping to create this nature positive and the economic stability for people here?
はい、ありがとうございます。
Thank you so much. This is Onishi, Mayor of Kumamoto. Well, thank you very much for your question, Mr. Gough. Kumamoto is home to 730,000 people, and all of them are drinking groundwater. I think we can boast that we are the #1 country, city in the world for groundwater. And there is the beautiful lake of Izuko, which I believe that you have visited. This is an oasis for residents, as well as a very important basis that underpins biodiversity. So Kumamoto is blessed with groundwater and very rich nature, which benefits local residents, corporations, and various entities. And many stakeholders have worked for a long time to protect and maintain this nature. In the UN Water Conference and at the World Water Forum, I have made presentations on this collaboration to protect the natural resources in Kumamoto. I believe that this could be a very important learning for the world. And from the nature positive city building, I believe that local governments should play a central role at the same time by setting ordinances, as well as supporting the linkage and coordination between the community, between corporations and other entities, to create a system to protect nature for the long term. I believe that is the important role to be played by the local government. And to that end, various stakeholders must be engaged. And it is very important to hold a summit like this to communicate the importance and significance, and also to promote conservation, as well as to connect different stakeholders. Another very important aspect is that the conservation of nature leads to the well-being and economic stability of the citizens. For Kumamoto, groundwater is integral for supporting people's daily lives, but it is also a resource for economic development. For example, the semiconductor industry is using a lot of water, as well as our everyday water that we drink on our day-to-day basis is from the delicious groundwater that we are blessed with. So we need to protect nature, and that is also protecting our society and economy. This is something that we very much would like everyone to understand, and for that, the local government needs to make every effort.
If I can come to Asaki now from Suntory, obviously the products that you produce are very reliant on water. And 20 years ago, you set up your first natural water sanctuary here. Why do you invest in water? How have you seen this as being so important?
Thank you, Mark. ありがとうございます。多分今日登壇者で唯一の
Thank you very much. I am probably the only manufacturer in this panel. So from that perspective, I would like to give you an answer. So Suntory has the purpose of the company, that is to create harmony with people and nature, to inspire the brilliance of life by creating rich experiences for people in harmony with nature. As Mark has pointed out, our business relies upon water and natural capital in general to meet the needs of the people in that time and deliver our products to the consumers. Therefore, water and nature are the very foundation. As has been pointed out during this morning already, it's a kind of an infrastructure or the very foundation on which our business creates value, meaning that the business case and the value of the company are one and the same. So that is the position we are taking for Suntory. The business case and protecting nature are one and the same. As the mayor said, there's a wonderful water here, and ever since 2003, we started a Kyushu Kumamoto plant in this land. And then in the same year, we launched our first natural water sanctuary. This is a Tennensui no Mori Aso. So we go down to the source of the water, and then we are not the owner of this forest, but then we kind of rent the forest from the owner, manage the forest, and then we make contribution to the recharge of the groundwater. And back in 2003, at the same time, we started this natural water sanctuary, meaning that the plant operation and the water protection are one and the same. And this natural water sanctuary is spreading across Japan, and we now have 27 such sanctuaries across the country. We call it water positive internally, and water consumed by our company in Japan, twice as much is actually the water. We are recharging the groundwater twice as much as the amount of water we spent. Now I'd like to talk about the time axis. If you are aware and if you are Japanese, you understand this. We are the producer of whiskey. Torii Shinjiro, who is the founder of this company, back in 1923 in the place called Yamazaki in Kyoto Prefecture, he started whiskey business because the company found the Yamazaki to be the most suited place for producing whiskey because of the natural water available there. Ever since then, it's been over 100 years. But then Yamazaki whiskey brand is still beloved by people around the world. So we are protected by the local water over all these years. So this is a kind of the time frame that we always keep in mind in our business. So investing in green infrastructure or the natural water sanctuary, in terms of the return on investment, how about that? I'm sure that you're wondering. So if you just do the math, of course, yeah, it's not so positive. But then actually there is quite a significant return there. There are, roughly speaking, three. Number one, as I already said, through such activities, we can be water positive in Japan. So that means that we are enhancing the foundation of our business, and it's very important. Number two, Suntory's Tennensui, which is a water brand, our product, like the Cokes and others, including all beverages, for 8 years in a row, Tennensui brand is the best seller in Japan. out of all of our products. This water is not just produced in a plant, but the forest itself is a plant of such natural water. That is a message we are delivering to our customers. And then the customers actually understand that and then resonate with that message. That's why they purchase Tennency water brand from Suntory, meaning that this investment is met with some certain benefit. And finally, there's another one, and the mayor of Kumamoto already mentioned that. And this is to do with the community. So we work closely with the administrators and the community people through such activities. This earns us license to operate. So this provides the foundation for us to continue to have business locally. So these are the three benefits. So whether numerically there is a ROI or not, well, it doesn't really matter, but it's very important. It's one and the same to have this business value and also to protect nature. That's all from me. Thank you.
A quick follow-up. In a watershed, one company working on this issue is important, but everyone in the area relies on that water. Do you work with the mayor and with the other community members, other businesses on this?
Well, I'm sure that other members will talk about this later, but in Kumamoto, we have the Kumamoto Water Positive Action. And this is industry, academia, and private sector and government participated program. This is not just with one entity, but many entities, including Suntory, has been taking part. Kumamoto Groundwater Foundation. This is a program where many companies that have come to Kumamoto to do business, including Suntory, has joined. And also Kumamoto Prefecture, as well as 11 municipalities, are participating in this foundation to protect groundwater. So for example, when a new company enters into the Kumamoto Prefecture, and if they are going to draw down from the groundwater, then they need to make a commitment and become to recharge the same amount. And so this is a way to engage and involve many entities in maintaining and protecting groundwater.
At IUCN, you work very closely and bring these organizations together through some of the work that you do. What is the role of an organization like IUCN in making sure that these partnerships really work?
Thank you very much. So in IUCN, we have 19,000 experts around the world. And one thing that I have to say is that decision-making based in science is essential. I mean, and what we do is precisely that, is to put the science at the table, is to put the valid information at the table, and is to develop these tools that companies like Suntory and of course here in Kumamoto, they can use and be sure that actions that they're taking are well done based on science. So organizations like us is what we do. We put science at the table. That is one thing we do. Second thing we do is that we are very good calling on different actors because we are a union and IUCN is composed by state members. Japan is a state member of IUCN. And here we have over 20 organizations, members of IUCN. And they come together, state members, civil society, and community levels, together with science and experience of the experts to make solutions reality. And I think that this is very powerful because, as I said before, and like the mayor just explained, and of course the head of Suntory, we all have to work together, and this is a very good example. But the tools matter, the possibility to convey these actors matter, and that is what we are good at. Thank you.
Thank you. I would now like to move to the issue of finance. So we've heard from the conservation body, we've heard from the mayor, and now from a company. Higo Bank is obviously not just extremely important in this region, but much broader as well. How do you get that balance to make sure that businesses that you're investing in are profitable, but also nature positive?
はい、ありがとうございます。
Thank you so much. I am president of both Higo Bank and the president of the Kyushu Financial Group. My name is Yoshihisa Kasahara. From the perspective of the financial player and from the Higo Bank, I'm very grateful for this opportunity. I have a few slides which I would like to share with you. So starting from this slide, this is the purpose of Higo Bank's existence. Earlier, Suntory's purpose was shared. Let me read this out. Our purpose of existence is to work with our customers and local communities to nurture, protect, and pass on their assets and businesses, as well as the region's industries, natural environment, and culture, and thereby create the future of the region. Regarding this purpose, we intentionally did not use the word finance. We are a local financial institution. And of course, we use finance to provide various support to the local community. But we believe that our purpose is to support and to contribute to the community as a whole. And we also want to enrich industry as well as the natural environment, as you can see in the underlined section of our purpose. Please go to the next picture. So Onishi-san's picture was almost the same as this. This is Lake Ezu, the largest spring-fed pond in Kumamoto City. So as this shows, the most important assets of Kumamoto City is the groundwater. We are the only city in Japan that supports all of the water needs with the groundwater. So groundwater, of course, supports people's everyday lives, but also agriculture, tourism, manufacturing, and also the semiconductor complex that is being built in Kumamoto is also being supported by groundwater. So from that perspective, natural capital is the basis of the foundation of our economic activity, but also protecting the natural capital is protection of our society itself. So as businesses, this should be the most important priority. Please go to the next slide. So this is a newspaper article from about 40 years ago. There was concern regarding the volume and quality of groundwater due to the various economic activities post-World War II. At that time, Higo started the Higo Water Resource Conservation Award. And in 1990, we also built a fund for the water resource conservation. So from 40 years ago, we have been working to conserve and protect the water resources for the next generation. One very important activity is this. In the Aso's mountainous area, we have been rebuilding the terraced rice fields. These were rice fields that had been abandoned, and we have rejuvenated this area as terraced rice fields. This is not just for cultivating rice, but also to recharge groundwater. We talked about water positive earlier, but this is also for recharging groundwater as well as to protect biodiversity. Over the 15-year activities, in March, we have been designated as part of the activities by the Ministry of Environment, and we are now featured on their website. This is indeed an investment into natural capital for nature positive. The next slide, this was mentioned by Asaki-san earlier, and he said that another panelist will talk about this. This April, Higo Bank, together with Funabiki-san's MS&AD and Asaki-san's Suntory Holdings, we launched the Water Positive Design Center. The purpose is to recharge groundwater in excess of the amount of groundwater being spent to connect and to pass on groundwater to the next generation. Various R&D facilities, financial institutions, universities, local communities, and various entities in Kumamoto is together working on this water positive. As mentioned earlier, in Kumamoto, there have been heavy investment into semiconductor. As a result of that, there has been some concern about reduced agricultural lands as well as less recharging of groundwater. However, this is to convert credit to credit the various green resources, and we are promoting the participation of a wide set of audience and communities. Through these activities, we would like to work closely together with the municipalities and businesses in this area. Please go on to the next slide. Lastly, so this is an activity that everyone can participate in. Water Positive Design Center is promoting various activities, and this is one of them. This is called Rain Garden. And we are promoting increasing rain gardens. We would like to have by 2030, 2,030 rain gardens in this area. So what is a rain garden? This is part of the green infrastructure. When there is rain, rather than it is important for the rain to slowly seep through to the ground so that it can recharge groundwater, reduce flood risks, and support biodiversity. There was mention of OECM earlier, but this is a part of supporting that. Of course, the time is limited. I'm not able to talk about everything, but as a local financial institution, we would like to work with the local community and local stakeholders to create the positive cycle between nature and economy so that we can pass on to the next generation. Thank you.
Now, if I can come to you, Shinichiro Funabiki, the insurance sector is almost the last stop in the game. So when things go wrong, you're there to help out the companies, the organizations. Can you explain to us how you see that nature loss translates into this business risk, but also, I think as we were discussing last night, how does this relate to resilience? How does this relate to the future rather than just the risk?
MS&AD の
I am Funabiki from MS&AD. Thank you. So we are an insurance company. So here in Japan, what kind of natural disasters are there and more frequent and impacting residents as well as companies? I would like to ask you, apart from earthquakes, what kind of the disasters have the biggest impact in Japan? It's actually typhoons in Japan. So winds that are brought by typhoons damaging the roofs of the companies as well as the homes. And then the assets are being damaged, and that is the biggest damage we have suffered. But ever since the late 1990s, flood damage has actually grown so much. And in the past 10 years, if you look at this 10 years window, compared to the first 5 years, the latter 5 years, actually the damage amount has doubled for flooding. And if you look at the characteristic data in the past 10 years, what kind of flooding or water damage you are seeing? In the first 5 years, it's kind of a flooding of the river causing damage. But then in the latter half of 5 years, 10 years, so the latter 5 years, the rainfall, flooding and inundating the urban area like sewage. So that kind of urban type damage has increased very rapidly. So if you look at the water flood disaster, the damage amount has five-fold bigger in the past 10 years. And the river flooding damage compared to urban water damage, they are more or less comparable in terms of the damage amount. So we have to understand this situation to think about what response we need to come up with. So climate change is causing the amount of rainfall to increase. But then urbanization, or the speed of urbanization, is so fast. So rather than more rainfall, the rapid urbanization is bringing about more damage to urban areas. How can we address it? So that's one thing. So how can we address it as a non-life insurer? I have to talk about negative incentive first. So in our industry, there is one keyword that is mentioned, which is SCS, and this stands for Severe Convective Storms, SCS. Meaning that cumulonimbus clouds develop, and then it brings a lot of torrential rain, and flooding occurs in urban areas. So that's what is called severe convective storms. So ever since 2023 and 2024, and then across the world, how much money has been paid as insurance claims across the world is 2 trillion yen. But then the actual economic damage is probably double that amount of insurance claims. So why is it that there is so much gap in between the two? It's because, well, I am President CEO of non-life insurance company, and I should not be saying that, but then insurance premiums are rising so rapidly. So even if you are in a developed country or in an urban area, you can't afford insurance. So how can we address this problem? I think this is a very important consideration we need to address. So here in Japan, still, you can afford flat type insurance here in Japan. But then if you look at Florida, where hurricanes are frequent, major insurance companies are not trying to promote their insurance products any longer. In California, Beverly Hills, in the North America, you may have, second house there. But if you are to purchase a fire insurance, it costs 200,000 or 300,000 yen per month. So that exceeds monthly mortgage payment or rental fee you pay. So as a Japanese insurance company, this is something that we would like to avoid here in Japan. And for that purpose, we have to suppress the instance of disasters. That's why we work together with local governments and companies as well as the residents to think about how to address it and a solution. So that would be a very important mission for a financial company going forward. Thank you very much.
The results from the poll. They always say that you should never use technology on us. Oh, it's worked. Wonderful. Excellent. So you might be able to see them in front of you as well if you don't need to turn around. But unsurprisingly, regulation is what most people here have voted for, followed by the opportunity that we might be able to find, and then the physical risk. I think that's quite interesting from an insurance perspective, after what we just heard isn't so high in investor expectations. So maybe as a way of closing, I can come back to you just all very briefly, and just in a minute or so, just to explain what your thoughts are on the results here, and whether you have any other ideas of what the main drivers should be to become more nature positive. Grethel, can I come to you first?
Thank you. Well, not very surprising, I would say, the results, but I am glad that one of the main results is regulations. I believe, that in this planet, we all need to come together and to agree on how we're gonna improve the current situation. And regulations play a huge role. If we do not follow procedure, if we do not have the right regulations in place, the right incentives in place, the right, way forward in place, it is very difficult to achieve success. But I think that there are many governments around the world that are following a good path, and we should pay attention. Now, as a planetary community, I think that we should pay good attention on what are those regulations that as a humanity we're going to follow. Because what happens in one country can immediately impact the other. We are not solo flyers as countries. So we have to come together and really decide. And having said that, I would like to also make a comment on market opportunity and reputation. So if you take actions to conserve nature, nature will pay back. How will nature pay back? Reducing the risk. I mean, we're talking about insurance, but I think that if we can, at the beginning, package projects and actions that are already the risk, then that will play a very big role, and of course produce return on investment, and in turn benefit the communities. So reputation, yes, reputation is important, is part of the branding, and I hope that the private sector can link with civil society organizations that already have that reputation. We in IUCN have 80 years of existence, and we are very willing to work hand in hand with the private sector to achieve a nature positive world that benefits people and brings us prosperity.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, what was your view on the results there?
はい、規制というのは非常に
Yes, the regulations are important, and I do believe so. But we in Kumamoto, we have a lot of the semiconductor companies coming to Kumamoto. A lot of citizens are feeling threatened by that. Maybe they will damage our livelihoods, company activities, and those global companies coming to Kumamoto. That is a welcoming thing. But then having said that, residents feel that they don't want to be threatened. So there is a kind of a mounting concern or a sense of crisis on the part of the residents. And then I have already given a direction in terms of the protection of the groundwater of Kumamoto City, and given direction to review the ordinance regarding that, because our conditions are changing, meaning that our regulations need to be updated accordingly. At the same time, why is it that we need to have those regulations? We need to understand that. So our jewel, and that is nature capital, natural capital, that benefit our economy as well as the people's livelihood. So groundwater for us is a kind of a very important treasure for us that has to be once again recognized by the people. And they're working together with people like Suntory or Higo Bank. These companies are taking part in our activities in cooperation with us, and that way we'll be able to increase the amount of groundwater or improve the quality. And that is possible. So that is something that we need to share with the citizens of the city. That is very important. Thank you.
Asaki-san, you said when we were backstage about all of these, I think you've got a pretty simple answer to this, haven't you?
Yeah, I think in the backstage I said everything. 全部だって申し上げましたけど、ちょっと今。
Yes, I said everything, but listening to the mayor's comment, since this is a global summit and we have global audience, and as Kasahara-san said, in Kumamoto, we have this partnership between industry, academia, and government. We have the Kumamoto Water Positive Action and the Water Positive Design Center. So having a shared understanding of the issue, visualizing what the issue is, and not just from regulation. I believe that there are various flexible actions that the private sector can take in coordination with the local government, and to create the optimized path forward. And incentive also plays a very important role here. I really hope that in Kumamoto we can build this concept together and share that with the wider world, so that this can be replicated, not exactly replicate, but to spread this effort in many other regions. Thank you.
Mr. Kasahara, your view on this?
はい。この4つ
Thank you. So among these four options, and as Asaki-san said, everything is important. But it's interesting. It's a question of speed. Or leaders who have focus on that, that's okay. But then there are people who are not really on the same page. So we need to count the people who are actually actively taking part in these things. And I think number 4 is also very important. It's about opportunities. So to protect the brand and then deliver messages out there. So these activities can lead to better business and create a virtuous cycle. And then I think the third one, investors' questions may urge that or trigger that, or pressure from the market can trigger that, or a pressure coming from financial institutions can pressurize that as well. And if that doesn't work, then regulations, and then eventually physical risks. That should be the last resort. So I think it's very important to work up front on number 3 and number 4.
Investors wasn't the highest there. Do you think it should be higher?
一言申し上げます。
Keep it brief. To protect something, we need rules. We need regulations. For us, to protect people and corporate customers' assets, we are competing based on a very tight set of rules. And we do need rules to protect natural capital. But we also need value creation. Because we need to look at the optimization, not for the entire picture, but we also need part-by-part optimization. Because each region is different. Some regions are concerned about earthquakes, others are concerned about flooding, or others about snow damage. And so we need the optimized solution that is right for that local community or region. We need more younger people to take part in this. In Kumamoto, we are working together to support startups as one concrete action. Thank you.
Word optimization rather than maximization. It's about finding those trade-offs and the connections. As you've seen here today, the business and social case is extremely clear. We have collaboration between finance, business, between mayors, between cities, between countries, and the conservation bodies all working together. The next thing is to act on this. We've got the standards now in place. We've got the measurements now with the state of nature work that Nature Positive Initiative has been doing. Now it's your turn to act. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。皆様今一度盛大な拍手。
Thank you very much. Please give a big round of applause to the panelists.